What's happening, guys, and welcome back to the channel. And the transfer window has closed, and with the dust settling, I must say it has been probably one of the best transfer windows, if not the best transfer window that I can remember, certainly in a long, long time. We had Lionel Messi emotionally leaving Barcelona and joining Neymar and Kylian Mbappe at PSG. We had Ronaldo leaving Juventus and going back to Manchester United again, and many, many other big moves. PSG, for me, the big winners of the transfer market, bringing in Messi, as I mentioned, Sergio Ramos, Donnarumma, Wijnaldum, Hakimi, and Nuno Mendes, the exciting Portuguese left-back on loan on deadline day. George, how did you see the transfer window from your perspective? One of the best, and what was kind of your standout moment?
I'm putting it out there, mate. I think it is the best window I've ever seen. You've had moves like it before, but I mean, just like you said, Messi leaving Barcelona, who would have thought it finally happening? That just was something that we'll just never see again. And then Ronaldo moving in the same window to Manchester United was just, I mean, even I was excited, and I'm not even a Manchester United fan. And so many more, mate. Just Ramos now playing with Messi. Who would have thought that after all the rivalry they've had? Great business for Manchester United with Sancho and Varane as well. Chelsea getting a big striker. In Lukaku, we had the whole Kane thing. Obviously, didn't go in the end, but Jack Grealish, £100 million to Manchester City. It's just been mental. The standout moment for me probably has to be the Messi situation. I know Ronaldo's outshining it slightly because he's returning to Manchester United, but just seeing Messi play that 5 minutes when he came on at the end for his debut for PSG just looks so weird. It's just like one of those things, those moments where, and it's a bit of a shame really, because it was almost forced upon him, not that he wanted to go. So I'm almost a bit upset for him, but yeah, just massive names just moving everywhere. And I really thought it was going to be the complete opposite with everything that's gone on with the pandemic and clubs trying to balance the books. So a window that we'll never forget in football. And amazing.
I mean, there really have been some big, big deals. Before we move on to Europe, George, from a Premier League perspective, who do you think kind of the winners of the transfer window have been? Obviously, as you mentioned, we've seen Manchester City break the British transfer record with a £100 million signing of Jack Grealish, Chelsea bringing back Romelu Lukaku for £97.5 million, and the return of Cristiano Ronaldo to Manchester United. Who do you feel then have been the winners of the transfer market in the Premier League?
I think it's hard to look past Manchester United, what they've done. I mean, they've got Sancho, which is essentially a deal that was in place last year. Then they bought Varane for an absolute steal, in my opinion. Just over 40 million euros or 40 million pounds, for someone of his experience to play alongside Maguire. And then, of course, the return of Ronaldo. Yes, he's 36. Yes, we've well documented that he's not the same player, but I mean, come on. If you said, Ronaldo was coming back and they managed to get him, I think that really does put them into a very strong position now to challenge along with the other 3 or 4 teams in the race. Looking beyond that, Chelsea, you can't look past Chelsea just because we addressed the area that we needed to get, which was the striker in Romelu Lukaku. I'm trying to think a bit left field of teams that may have done some good business.
I think Aston Villa have done some great business.
Yeah.
I know the results have not been amazing to start the season with, but they've brought some top players in, the likes of Danny Ings, proven at this level, Emi Buendia, Leon Bailey as well from Leverkusen. They've spent that Jack Grealish money well, haven't they?
Yeah, very well. I mean, it remains to be seen if that, I think Danny Ings is going to be a huge, I think he's a really great striker, underrated for his goal scoring return. And he's someone that will definitely score goals for them, and they'll have a step up. I'll tell you who's done the worst though, Arsenal. I mean, that is a joke, how much they've spent and what they've got in return for it. It's beyond belief, really. So Arsenal fans, I don't know what they're thinking now.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest spenders in the window, I think £149 million, just under the 150 mark. Realistically, though, they've brought in players for the future. There's no guarantee that these players are going to go on and do well. I mean, you could look back at this in a couple of years' time and say, actually, that was a great window because some players have developed nicely. But on the face of it, it's not a good window. And you have to accept that where Arsenal are, every player that they bought, no one else was linked with them at all. No one else was interested in them. So I don't know. I think that speaks volumes, really. But yeah, I'd probably say, I mean, they've spent the most money, but it remains to be seen how that is. But I think personally, for me, out of the big teams, I think Liverpool have had the worst transfer window. They've bought in Ibrahim Konate, who's an exciting centre back from Leipzig. I know they've tied down the long-term futures of some key players in Alisson, Trent, Andrew Robertson, etc. But I think they're really short in the squad. So for me, they'd be the big kind of out of the big teams. I think they've had the worst window. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on Liverpool's window.
Well, I was going to say, I think Liverpool, in a way, have actually played it quite smart, because I really didn't think they needed to add much. I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I think they had a lot of players to come back. I mean, it was freak scenario last season where they lost 4 centre halves, and they've got Virgil back, they've got Gomez back. They've got a fully fit Trent back now after his injury from the Euros. Who else have they got back? They've got I can't remember who else got injured. They bought a centre half, didn't they?
Yeah, Konate,
yeah. So I don't think they need to add much to the squad. I think they're pretty much they're there. I mean, yes, you could argue that maybe they should have bought a striker, but we've touched on it before. I mean, sometimes bringing in a big number 9 or whatever might upset the apple cart in the sense of how they play. So, and they've hit the ground running. They've played quite well to start with. So I think Liverpool are actually okay. I didn't think they needed to add much at all. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do disagree with that. I just think they're short in terms of squad depth. If anything happens to one of that front three, the drop-off in quality is so poor. But it remains to be seen how it unfolds this season. But George, just kind of the Premier League, moving into Europe now, and it's undeniable that the winners of the transfer market has to be Paris Saint-Germain. The marquee signing of Lionel Messi, Donnarumma in goal on a free, Wijnaldum on a free, Sergio Ramos on a free, Achraf Hakimi in, and Nuno Mendes, the exciting Portuguese left back. I mean, they really have completed it. If the transfer window was a game, they've completed it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable what they've done in this window, and haven't spent that much money. That's what's mad about it. A lot of free transfers. So I don't know how they've done it. Pochettino must be licking his lips now, and this is their best opportunity to take that step in the Champions League, which is, of course, what they've aimed to do ever since the whole takeover, and Paris Saint-Germain have kind of come under a new identity of a financial force. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we won't see a lot of the French football, but it's something that I'm excited to see, certainly when Champions League kicks off and how well they do. But amazing. They are the winners of the transfer window, without a doubt.
I mean, I can't remember a team ever having a transfer window as good as PSG have had in this one. And I share those thoughts, but I'm really excited to watch more of PSG, particularly in the Champions League. I'll probably watch them a bit more in the French league as well. I think it's really exciting to see a team of superstars assembled and just see how well they do, and obviously how well Mauricio Pochettino gets into gel as a team, and can he handle the pressure now with all these big names and even more expectation on him. But George, kind of moving into the Spanish clubs, and for Real Madrid, it was quite a quiet transfer window, really only bringing in on deadline day Eduardo Camavinga, the exciting French central midfield player from Rennes, for about 31 million euros. I think really a replacement for Martin Odegaard, who went out to Arsenal. But Madrid have kind of kept the same sort of team, George. Quite surprised. I mean, obviously the pursuit for Kylian Mbappe, they offered up 189 million pounds in the end, which PSG didn't accept. It's kind of well known that he'll go there on a free transfer next summer. He should really sign the pre-contract in January. Just a quick word on Real Madrid. No marquee signing, and a young, talented midfield player bought in. It's not much to their usual standards.
No, but you mentioned marquee signings, mate, and they haven't really made marquee signings for a long time. I mean, you go back to Ronaldo. After that, they haven't spent more than maybe 50, 60 million pounds on a player, which, okay, is a lot of money to a lot of the usual sides. But for one of the biggest,
well, there was Eden Hazard, 100-odd million pounds couple seasons ago.
Yeah, Eden Hazard. Yeah. That's what. So apart Ronaldo, and then Eden Hazard's the most recent one. But really, if you look at that Galactico era where they would buy pretty much a player every summer window that was the iconic player,
Mm.
You go back to like your Beckhams, everything else. I mean, they haven't. And that Galactico era has come to an end. There's some serious financial trouble there. People were questioning how on earth they'd managed to come up with the money for Kylian Mbappe, but it still didn't happen. Do they still have the pulling power they once did? I mean, that Mbappe deal is going to hurt them. There's probably a principle in place that he's going to go next year. But I think the only thing that they've got going for them is obviously their heritage, which everyone still wants to play in the famous white kit. But it's been a poor window for them, and I think they will. I think a lot of the Spanish clubs will struggle because they've just not been managed correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're in a much better position than Barcelona are, which we'll come on to now, George. And obviously, the financial mess therein is very well known. I still can't believe it, how they've managed to get into this mess. I don't know who's running the business side of things, who's giving these massive deals a sign off on the wages that they clearly can't afford. It's a complete mess. And obviously, Messi departed, which was unexpected. And now, obviously, they've taken another massive hit on Antoine Griezmann, who on deadline day returned to Atletico Madrid on loan with an option to buy for 65 million euros, which is 40 million euros less than Atletico Madrid sold him for in the first place. George, what is going on at Barcelona now?
Mate, I think it's been a mess ever since Ronald Koeman came in. He came in, it's not the style of football they want to play. He upset Suarez, who then left and went on to be the top goal scorer at Atletico. Messi's obviously been very vocal that he wanted to leave, then he wanted to stay. It's always going to be difficult for Barcelona when you lose so many iconic players at the same time. Xavi and Iniesta, the most iconic ones, but it's just been terribly run, and they just go back and forth. I mean, Griezmann, what does he want to do? He should almost play in half Barcelona, half Atletico's top when he goes out and plays, because he doesn't know what he wants to do. And just like Real Madrid, mate, I think the only thing going for Barcelona, they've had a very damaged reputation, but their heritage, people still want to play for these iconic clubs. That's probably the only thing that's keeping them afloat at the moment. But I mean, the fans will be distraught. I mean, I don't know any Barcelona fans, but they must be distraught when the pin-up of Messi was taken down, and it's just not the same. I don't know how you feel. I mean, we were absolutely we were so emotional when the likes of John Terry and Frank Lampard left. So can you imagine someone as good as Messi leaving the club? And I think it's just going to be a domino effect where it just gets worse and worse before it gets better.
It's certainly a big void to fill. I do feel sorry for some of the new signings that come in, the likes of Memphis Depay, Sergio Aguero injured. The thoughts of playing with, Lionel Messi and Antoine Griezmann, etc. They're now going to be playing with Newcastle flop Luke de Jong and Martin Braithwaite, the Middlesbrough legend, in quotation Brilliant. Marks. Yeah, so it's certainly tough times for Barcelona. I don't think the same aura is there, but as you said, the history is what will draw players in, and people will always want to play for Barcelona. It's just got that draw. But George, just before we wrap up, just quickly go to Serie A. Obviously, some big outgoings from the league. Some top players lost. Cristiano Ronaldo leaving Juventus, Romelu Lukaku leaving Inter Milan. Serie A is obviously weaker for those not being there. Antonio Conte as a manager's left as well, but they've obviously added Jose Mourinho to the ranks. Where do you kind of see Serie A now as a league? Because obviously they've lost some big players and a couple of top managers as well.
Yeah, it's a shame for their leagues. They've had quite a number of years where they were on the decline. None of the big Italian sides, AC Milan hadn't even been in the Champions League for a while. Juventus were the ones who were really kicking on, got to a couple of finals, and they were just turning a corner. When they attracted Ronaldo back, Romelu Lukaku doing very well there, and then all of a sudden it's gone back again. So again, I fear for them as a league, whether they can get the pulling power and bring the so-called sleeping giants back to what we do want to see. We do want to see the big names back in the Champions League competing like they once were. But I mean, from a Juve point of view, they were lucky to keep hold of Chiesa, who was, maybe he wanted to go somewhere at some point, but unfortunately, those types of clubs, I think they're probably at the lowest of the pecking order when it comes to the ones we've just talked about. You've got the Premier League as the most popular, then Spanish League with your two giants. And then, unfortunately, I think Serie A just falls even now below PSG, which, unfortunately, that means that if any players do well there, they're more than likely gone within 18 months.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with that. It's almost like anyone sort of wants to get to the prime of their careers, they're going to look to move on to the big clubs, and ultimately, it just seems that it doesn't seem to be in Serie A. Juventus, I think, are in big problems. Obviously, they've got Ronaldo's wages off the books now, but they've got financial issues. I mean, not a great window for them, obviously, bringing in Locatelli from Sassuolo. He's a good midfield player. Bringing Moise Kean back from Everton on a 2 years loan to replace Cristiano Ronaldo, essentially, it's not the most exciting. I think Inter Milan have done some half decent business, but again, losing top players, I can't see the Italian teams really competing in the Champions League. And on a personal note, it was great to see Olivier Giroud score a couple of goals on his AC Milan debut. But yeah, as you say, I think it's a great league, but as always, I think at the moment they're just a bit off the pace in terms of being challenges in Europe, and the top players in the prime of their careers, I don't think they're going to want to go and play in Serie A, unfortunately. But yeah, that's just myself and George's roundup of the transfer window. As always, guys, make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.